So I'm just putting this tutorial together. What I thought might be useful for some people is if I start to assess some sites are actually on the market, and this one in particular is going to auction. So what I'm going to do is I'll take maybe 10-15 minutes. I'll just maybe assess this site, say at a high level. This might be useful for not only people who are looking to purchase stuff on the market and go to the auctions, but if anyone's actually interested in this specific site, obviously it could serve a purpose for them as well. So like I said, I'll go through things such as legals, build costs, buildability, planning, just to give you an indication of the things to look out for, and hopefully you can apply this to on other sites. And like I said, this might help somebody on this specific site as well. I think the important thing to remember, and I've fallen at this trap myself, is that everyone's so keen to do a deal and fancies themselves as a property developer that you can sometimes look past concerns that are staring you in the face. And like you said, I've been guilty of this myself, and I still am from time to time. So go into every deal with the mindset that you're looking for a reason not to do something. And then, now and again, you might find one or two, and then it's a matter of problem solving a way around those. But sometimes you'll see half a dozen or so potential concerns, and then obviously it becomes clear that this probably isn't a risk worth taking. And then obviously you move on to assessing the next deal. And then the second part of this is obviously establishing costs as well. So even though something looks like it's a nice site and you'll get planning for X amount of units, and they should be able to build them out within X amount per square foot, you want to make sure you're paying the right amount of money for the land, because everything comes back to land values, which is one of the reasons that we're not building out as much stuff as we should at the moment. So like I said, do the due diligence first, look for a reason not to do something, and then obviously make sure you're assessing the land values correctly as well. Also, I put this at the start rather than the end of the call, because obviously a lot of people might not get to that stage. But if you are looking for sites and you want some assistance, you can go onto the website. There's still a few 15-minute slots available. They're free. So all you need to do is click on the link, register a time, send me the site details, and I'll log on and go through these with you. Obviously, I know there's auctions next week as well. So, like I said, if you've got any sites, go on the website, click on the link, and I'm happy to help you take a look with the due diligence, the build costs, and assessing the land values. Just on this site here, as you can see, it's Whitebarn Rd in Churchdown. It's on for 160 grand. It's going to auction December the 14th, which is this coming week, so it's only a few days away. And those of you who are used to buying stuff at the auctions, you'll be familiar with this process. So I've requested the legal pack. I've had a look through it. Now, just quick disclaimer, I'm not a solicitor, nor am I qualified to be giving legal advice. I know the things that I do need to be looking at a high level to help me separate the wheat from the chaff. Okay, so if you are interested in sites, obviously get the legal pack. Make sure you go to a proper solicitor, you get proper advice, and only then obviously go and bid on the sites. But before you get to that point, you want to make sure you know how to assess this stuff yourself. So if every site that you're looking at, you have to pay a solicitor, a planning consultant, an architect, an engineer, just nothing would stack up, and you'd lose a fortune before you actually got a deal over the line. So, like I said, I'll advise on the issues that I'm aware of. Make sure you take legal advice if you are going to go and purchase the land. Planning. Okay, so I'll just show you the process that I go through on this one, right? So this is the site in question here. So you can see you've got an existing plot where they're splitting the title, which isn't actually clear on here. But yeah, they're splitting the title. There's an existing building, which is a block of semis, and obviously the plot for sale is the bottom here. So just doing some quick measurements, right? Roughly front to back, you've got 18 meters, and then left to right, 9, 10 meters. So small plot. Now, I will almost guarantee you that somebody is looking at this on the auction and thinking it's a nice infill plot, it's zone residential, it's in a great location, sales values are probably 400 quid a square foot north. This can go wrong. I'm going to show you 3 things that I've come across, which is why I think somebody might potentially fall into a trap with paying this type of money for this site. Okay, so where you would fall short on the planning front potentially for a 2-story dwelling to reflect the character and the nature of the buildings around you is, if you look at these buildings to the side, right, they're all backing onto gardens, right? There's nothing there. There's no potential overlooking issues. This plot, because the developer has already, I'll just go back a few steps. The developer has already built out all these units. I think there's 27, and this was plot number 28 as part of a previous planning application. Now, your issue is going to be overlooking distances from the adjacent dwelling. Now, in a nutshell, Dublin City Council and pretty much all of the other councils across the country have policy whereby they don't want you to encroach on a distance of 22 metres from habitable room to habitable room. So from bathrooms, living rooms, bedrooms, kitchens, they don't want people looking in on top of each other. So the minimum distance is 22 meters. Okay, so imagine if you were a single story dwelling here, you'd have a fence and you wouldn't be looking into the property. There would be no overlooking. But if you were looking for 2-story, you would be looking directly into the bedroom of the existing units. And the planners, if they're enforcing regulations properly, they won't allow that. So what this means is you are reduced to either a single-story unit or maybe something such as a dormer, which in turn could run you into planning problems, because if you look at the nature of the street, it's all 2-story, pretty much 2-story detached and semi-detached houses. So if you wanted to deviate from the existing character, there's a potential planning issue there as well. So that's the first thing I would say is the constraints in terms of the size of the site is very much going to impact the square footage that you're going to be able to build, which will in turn affect the development value, because you're unlikely to be able to build anything 2 stories. Now, I won't go back over the previous planning application for the 28 units, but this unit was actually part of the initial application. I haven't gone into the detail of that approval, but I would suggest there's probably been an amendment whereby the planners have said, you're encroaching on the minimum distances of 22 meters, you're not building that unit, which is why this site is now available. I might be wrong, but before I went and paid 160 grand for this site, I would be checking that out or paying somebody else to do it for me. Okay, so yeah, on a planning point of view, that would be my main concern, which would in turn affect the sales value. The second item is the buildability of the site. So let's say, for instance, you did buy the site, you went and got the planning, and then you wanted to go and build the units out. Now, I keep saying this in the videos I've been doing because it is so important. Planning and legals, they're separate entities. If you've got planning to do something, planning permission, sorry, that doesn't mean you've got a legal entitlement to do so. Okay, and most people only find this out once they bought the site, they got the planning, and then they're fucked. Okay, down the line, and they only find out once they've gone and spent thousands, if not millions, on land that they can't develop. So I'm just going to show you the title plan. Okay, if you imagine you're going to try and build a unit in here, because the site is so thin, right? You're going to want to maximize the width. So what did we say it was? 9 meters. You're going to need almost every inch of that to maximize the square footage of the site. And therefore, you're going to need spaced on either side of the structure you intend to build for scaffolding and for plant and machinery to go down the side during the construction process. Now, if you don't have that space, your only way around it is to go to your neighbours and ask for permission. Now, you know, this might not be the case, but you imagine the neighbour in this unit here is pissed off because somebody's just gone and built 28 houses by the side of them. They don't want another unit there. They don't want this here. They could drag this out and be quite funny about things and refuse you permission to erect your scaffolding, which means, again, you're going to build that house. There are ways around it, don't get me wrong, but they all come with a cost implication and a time implication as well. So just bear that in mind. You could have this this site that actually you can't build out. And then the third item, this photo. So this was taken 2014, so what's that, 10 years ago. Now, as you can see here on this more recent picture, just go forward. Okay, they've built that unit. They've left this site. Now, I'd be asking myself, right, why is a developer built 27 units and left that plot spare? They just decided they didn't want to build it. Now, for me, there's two potential reasons. The one is, like I touched upon earlier, they've actually had to amend the approved scheme because of the overlooking distances, and decided a single-story unit wasn't worth it. Or potentially, is there something in the ground here which means that the development of a unit is commercially unviable? Now, most of you will know your main services, they're probably going to go on the footpath down the side of the site. I checked on the plan for the other approval, and I know that the drainage is going down there, the foul sewers. But if you look there, that yellow pipe there, that would be gas ducting. Now, again, I'm just speculating. I would suggest there's a potential chance that site is full of services, or there are services in there which would be a pain in the ass in terms of developing the site. So I would want to get a site investigation survey done, or as a minimum, I would expect a site investigation survey to be contained within the legal pack, which I don't think that is. So I'd be ticking that box. Now, there's a good website you can use called beforeyoudig.ie. Yeah, what these guys will do is they will they'll put a request in on your behalf, and they will send you drawings from the statutory authorities for all of the existing services in the site, or at least those which have been mapped. Now, obviously, that'll give you peace of mind to a point that, that there's nothing in the ground which is going to prevent development down the line. And even when you're there, you probably want to get a CAT scanner out and do your own due diligence as well. But yeah, to be going and paying this type of money for this type of site when there's clear evidence that there might be an issue would be a massive risk as far as I'm concerned. Now, let's say, for instance, you can overcome the planning issue. You've got an architect who can put windows in clever locations, and you can overcome the potential build constraints, and you can also overcome the issues with potential services in the ground. You would want to obviously do an appraisal of the site, which I've done here. Now, this is very high level stuff. If you were to go and appraise every site and put get a QS on board and measure every nook and cranny, that you just wouldn't get any deals done because there wouldn't be enough hours in the day. So I've just done an appraisal at a high level. I'll rattle this so you can see what type of stuff I'm looking for, and give you an indication of whether or not I think that the land is valued correctly. Because effectively what's going to happen is somebody is going to buy this, and 95% of the time it's the biggest idiot who's willing to overpay for the site and keep bidding just because they think that they're definitely going to make money at the end of the day. And that's obviously where developers are going bust. So I think because of the nature of the site, the fact that I don't think you're going to get 2-story on that, I think the maximum square footage you're going to get on there is about 1,000 square foot. Okay, sales values in the area are around about 400 quid a square foot, but because the site is smaller, obviously being a new build, I think you might get upwards of 425, which means the gross development value potentially for a unit of 1,000 square foot would be about 425 grand, right? And then what I do is I net off the fees associated with legal and sales. And then we look at the acquisition costs. So land purchase, 160 grand. That's assuming you don't pay any more for the site, plus the stamp. Professional fees, so put 20 grand in there, which is 10% of the build cost. Most architects will probably be charging you that alone. So if you imagine you'd be doing site investigation surveys, you'll need a planning consultant, an engineer, and others. Somebody to do a topographical survey. So that's potentially light, but I know some people, obviously got people they use are maybe cheaper than others. So I've just done 20 grand in there for the time being. All in build costs, so 1,000 square foot, which is obviously what we're building, times 200 quid. So I know there's people out there say, I'm building for 125, I'm building for 150. You're not going onto a site that small on a one-off build and building it for much less than that. 200 grand to build a unit if you're lucky. External works allowance, so this covers everything which isn't within the fabric of your building. So your soft landscaping, your paving, any lighting, obviously putting your parking bays in, curbs, that type of stuff. Which gives us total construction cost, excluding a contingency, of 210, plus a 5% for a contingency, which if you're lending, they'll be looking for regardless. And even if they weren't, you should obviously have that in your budget, which gives us an all-in cost, construction-wise, of 220 quid a square foot. If you ask about, I don't think you'd be building it for much less than that. And then we have add the finance cost below. So I know some people will be paying cash, but not everybody going to an auction has got 400 odd grand to be spending on development. So I'd imagine whoever buys this site is probably funding it with cash, because if you take that 30 grand out, it's obviously a big chunk of money. But for the purpose of this, I've added it in. And then the top and bottom is, if you were to pay the 160 grand for the land and all of those items I've just mentioned above in terms of bill costs, stamp, consultants fees are thrown into the mix, I forecast would be losing about 27. Let's call it 30 grand, right? Pre-finance. If you added your finance on, closer to 60 grand. Now, like I said, this is just as I see it, and I would be buying the site now. I know the good developers out there would be doing the same thing. They'd make sure they're not overpaying for land, make sure they got contingencies in, and obviously, like I said, doing their due diligence. But yeah, that's as I see it. So if there's anybody who knows, obviously bidding on this site, I'd be more than happy to share the appraisal. Just send us an email or whatever. And like I said, I haven't really touched upon the legals in this, so you need to make sure you do your due diligence on that front. Just one more point. There is a letter in the legal pack which I did see, which referenced the fact that all of the roads, footpaths, sewers, and public lighting abutting the premises, they're taken in charge. So what this means essentially is that you have got access to connect to those services and to obviously drive onto the public highway directly from the plot. What they do say is the lane to the side is still in private ownership, which again comes back to what I was saying about the potential issues with construction. Okay, so you would need permission to erect any scaffolding or hoarding over that footpath, which again comes with the time and money implications. So I hope you find that helpful. If, like I said, if you've got any sites you're interested in purchasing, assessing, or stuff at the auction, just go on the website, click on the 15-minute consultation button, and I'd be happy to help you out.